Hey, Julian Kraus here, and these are the native instrument Komplete Audio 1 and Komplete Audio 2 interfaces. Let's check them out. As always, we'll take a look at the outside of the devices first, and then I'll go over the technical specifications and share my measurements of these interfaces with you. I think the first thing that comes to mind when looking at these interfaces is the minimalistic design. The interfaces are mainly black, and the embedded LEDs make the Komplete Audio 1 and 2, in my opinion, one of the coolest looking audio interfaces out there. Even though the Komplete Audio looks like a solid brick, it is actually lighter than you would expect. They both come in at roughly 370 grams, and that's because the whole housing is completely out of plastic. So I can't deny that the Komplete Audio interfaces have a slight plasticky feel to them, yet they are still far from feeling cheap. Actually, all the knobs turn very smoothly, and even the big knob on the top feels very sturdy. Okay, let's have a look at all the connectors, buttons and knobs of the Komplete Audio 1 and 2. Both interfaces have a 1/4 inch headphone jack, and above it the corresponding volume knob. Further to the left you can find a button which toggles the phantom power for the microphone inputs. Below that you got a knob which lets you control the amount of direct monitoring and audio from your DAW. And I think having such a knob is quite nice because you can dial in your preferred mix of the direct monitoring signal and the audio from your DAW. This is much more versatile compared to a simple on-off switch for the direct monitoring. As you can see, the Komplete Audio 1 has only one XLR input and a separate TRS input, whereas the Komplete Audio 2 has two XLR and TRS combo inputs. On the Komplete Audio 1, you can change the single TRS input from a line level to an instrument input, and on the Komplete Audio 2, you can also do that, but for both TRS inputs. Of course, gain knobs to control the inputs are present on both devices. The top again is identical. Both have an LED level meter for both channels, an LED which lights up when you turn on the phantom power, and another LED which turns on when the interface is connected to a PC. Right next to that you find the big volume knob which controls the outputs on the back. On the back, both interfaces feature a Kensington lock connection point and a USB connector. The outputs are a bit different though. The Komplete Audio 1 uses RCA connectors, whereas the Komplete Audio 2 features balanced TRS outputs. So in essence, the Komplete Audio 1 and 2 are pretty much identical in size and design, the only differences being that you get two full XLR and TRS combo inputs with the Komplete Audio 2, and only one XLR and a separate TRS input with the Komplete Audio 1. And the outputs on the back are unbalanced for the Komplete Audio 1 and balanced connections on the Komplete Audio 2. Now let's dive a little deeper into the specifications and see how well these interfaces perform. Native Instruments states that both interfaces have a maximum sample rate of 192 kHz and a bit depth of 24 bit. The high sample rate should allow you to record frequencies beyond the human hearing range, and this might be useful for special effects recordings which you slow down, because this way you pull the higher frequencies back into the audible range. And that's absolutely possible with the Komplete Audio 1 and 2. As you can see, the frequency response of both devices is very flat, with the -3 dB point at the high end around 75 kHz. Of course, you can use a lower sample rate like 48 kHz if you like, and the frequency response is going to be pretty much perfectly flat in the audible range. With the stated 24-bit, it is theoretically possible to record a very high dynamic range. And this is also true for the Komplete Audio 1 and 2. I measured the dynamic range for both units and they came in at 109 dB A-weighted for the microphone inputs. This is a very good value, and this allows you to leave yourself a nice amount of headroom while recording without introducing any additional noise. This way you also minimize the risk of clipping while recording, so the Komplete Audio interfaces perform very well in this regard. Now the question I get all the time is, how much noise has the preamp? I measured the equivalent input noise, which is a way of quantifying the noise of a preamp, and this lets you compare the noise between different devices. And I can say that the microphone preamp in both tested units have an equivalent input noise of -129.5 dBu A-weighted. This means that the preamps in the Komplete audio interfaces are ultra low noise, and you can even use low sensitive dynamic mics and still get a very low noise floor. Here is how the Komplete audio interfaces compare to other audio interfaces I measured. As you can see, it is right at the top, beating the Behringer UMC 202 HD and the Scarlett 2i2. That said, the difference between the Komplete Audio 1 and 2, the UMC 202 HD and the Scarlett 2i2 will be pretty small in practice. Here is how they compare audibly. The noise was equally boosted in post, so you could hear it more clearly, but other than that, there was no additional processing done. As you could hear, the preamp performance of the Komplete audio interfaces is very good, and it is actually the best noise performance of all interfaces I measured so far. This also means that you do not need a cloud lifter or fathead or any other inline preamp for this interface. And to demonstrate that, I'm currently speaking into a Shure SM7B, which is directly connected to the Komplete Audio 2. The SM7B is a microphone with a very low sensitivity, which needs a lot of amplification. So this is pretty much a worst case scenario, and I will let you listen to the noise floor of this setup. I think we can all agree that this is a very low noise floor for this setup, and again, this is in line with my measurements. To make sure that the preamp is not only low noise, but the whole interface provides enough gain to capture low sensitive mics properly, I always test the maximum system gain. The Komplete Audio 1 and 2 have a maximum system gain of 44 dBFS at 0 dBu. A value of around 50 is preferred, so the maximum system gain is a little on the lower side. This means that with a low sensitive dynamic mic like the SM7B, you have to turn the gain to the maximum to record at a proper level. Then again, because of the very low noise preamps, this isn't a problem, and even if you had to boost your recording a little in post, the high dynamic range of the Komplete audio interfaces got you covered. Still, I think the maximum system amplification could have been a bit higher. Because I like testing things, I also checked the mic input impedance. This shouldn't be too low, because otherwise it could change the sound of your mic. I measured a mic input impedance of 3 kΩ on the Komplete Audio 1 and 2.5 kΩ for both mic inputs on the Komplete Audio 2. 3 kΩ is a very typical value for an audio interface, and even 2.5K is still okay, so all good. I also tested the round-trip latency. This is the time it takes the interface to put out a sound signal and then record it again. So it's a combined measurement of the input and output latency This should of course be as low as possible, so that you can, for example, use an amp simulator with your electric guitar. With a high RTL, there would be a noticeable delay between striking a note and hearing the sound. Here are my measured round-trip latencies at 48 kHz and different buffer sizes. These were measured with the ASIO driver, and these are pretty decent latencies. One thing I found is that the measured RTL matches up nicely with the predicted times in the Native Instruments driver panel. Here the input and output latencies are listed separately and can give you a very good indication of the latency you can expect with your current settings. Lastly, let me shortly talk about my experience using the Komplete Audio 1 and 2. When I first connected the interfaces to my Windows 10 PC, they were recognized straight away, and I could use them to record audio and listen to music. Then I installed the ASIO driver from Native Instruments, and this went without any problems. I could then use the ASIO driver in my DAW. One thing to point out is that you can't change the sample rate of the interface in the ASIO driver panel, you have to change it via the Windows sound settings. Just one thing to be aware of. And even though I don't have a long-term experience with these interfaces, I can say that they have been working flawlessly for me so far. And I also want to stress again that the whole audio of this video was recorded with the Komplete Audio 1 and 2. So what are my thoughts on the Komplete Audio 1 and 2? I think the build quality is okay, and I personally really like the design of these interfaces, but if it wasn't obvious by now, they are prone to collecting fingerprints and dust. Regardless, the ultra low noise preamps and the high dynamic range of these interfaces enable you to get low noise recordings with pretty much any microphone. If you're wondering which one of the two microphones is for you, well, if you want to record with two mics simultaneously and need the two XLR and TRS combo inputs, or you need the balanced outputs, the Komplete Audio 2 is the logical choice. If you're okay with just one mic and a line or instrument input and the unbalanced outputs, you can save yourself some money and go with the Komplete Audio 1. Other than that, these two interfaces are pretty much identical, so regardless which one you choose, I think you get a very good looking device that can record high quality audio. Okay, that's it for now. If this was useful to you, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more reviews. I will see you all in the next one.